I loved it though. I like the movie. You know, it was very sad, very traumatic. I actually had my siblings tune in on it, so I mean the scenes with nudity. I wish I'd known about them, but I told them as long as there's no sexual intercourse going on, it's fine. But yeah, I thought that was a good film. I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah, I have some notes I'm gonna go over. But yeah, I thought it has I have many positive things to say, and when talking about slavery, like many negative things to say parts. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, but very powerful, very traumatic. Yeah, Mulatto Joe. Wow, Mulatto Joe. Just a good example of menticide and just Mulatto Joe.
yep, yep. That guy, man, he was a toxic character. I could see now how they build a whole army of mulattoes to take over because
Exactly.
this
Actually,
I,
Ezekiel, that happened during the Haitian Revolution. Like, there was a whole army of like mulatto people who joined with the white people against the black slaves. Like, it's actual. They do that. It's such a like common tactic that white people do.
Yep.
damn,
Dominican
that's
Republic.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but that really gave some context. Like I could definitely see how that happens. You know, even I like I mean, he never said, but definitely alludes to like him being like since he's mixed, like he feels like he's better and he's saved than everyone. That's why he can't have relations with the other African woman, you know, and he's just like, you know, these men have never those father figures that he's always talking about have never given him anything, and his mom who he killed gave him everything. So yeah,
And
Yeah.
to desecrate her body by putting it on an altar, I was so
yeah,
mad. I was screaming at the TV when he did that. Like, wow, way to disrespect your
Yeah, but
mother's honor and like traditions.
yeah,
I don't know why he thought that would be a good idea, or
yeah.
why he, you know, he was
It's
clearly
mental side.
they're
It's a
saying
mental
he was
side.
sick. Yeah.
It's, 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 it's a mental side. It's a Christian slavery brainwashing, you know. And like his mom said something really important that I hope everyone picked up on. And she said that you would be better off dead. You need to die. You know, she said something along those lines, and
Hmm.
I like felt that because like you know a person. I just felt that you know that's like slave mentality 101. You know, like you know what you know. I have a question to ask. Like, is it worth to Actually, never mind. I'm not gonna ask the question, but I do have another question I want to ask you guys because I thought it was I didn't like the scene where they were celebrating like the birth of the like they said like they had like 8 boys born and like 7 girls born or something along those lines, and then I don't think it's good to celebrate bringing children into a slave system unless you're like bringing in warriors that like you're like okay we're birthing these children and we're gonna like some way not have them taken away and use these children to help us you know liberate ourselves and end the slave system. But
Uh,
and I,
uh,
and I also understand, like, of course, they're being forced to have these children under duress, you know, and whatnot. But still, it's not you don't need to celebrate having children, even if you're being forced to. But then again, I don't know if it's based on a true story. I highly doubt it, which is why like most of it is unconstructive.
Um, I mean, yeah, I agreed with that part. About like not really like what is the point of celebrating them being born into like this hell? But I thought the movie was constructive in that it like I mean I'm happy that I at least saw a slave movie where the slaves are rebelling at the end. Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's very like never happened. And I felt like it was good to show the people who like actually were have like their head straight and how they communicated with the people who were like still really mental-sided. Like the guy, and I also like that they showed so many different types of Black people who existed in the South. Like the guy who I forgot his name, it's like Shango or something.
Shango.
Yeah, Sean.
And
Yeah, Sean.
yeah, I felt like he was really like I really liked the way that he communicated with everyone, because he was very like straightforward, and he was very like you don't get it, like you're far gone, like you need like you need to leave. And I like the part when he talked about how he no longer feared death and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought that he was a pretty constructive character, as well as the
Yeah, I
what's her
agree.
name, Nanu, I forgot her
Nunu.
name. Yeah,
Nunu.
Nunu. Like I thought she was a really like constructive character too. And I wish they would have gone into more details about what they were doing, the planning and conspiring they were doing when they were up in the hills, because I thought
Mm-hmm.
that that part was the most interesting. Like, because they seemed like they were a part of a secret society, and they were practicing ceremonies as well as like actually trying to come up with plans to overthrow their over like the slave masters. So I don't know. I thought those parts were really constructive, and I forgot. Oh, I liked the part where I think Shanu, I forgot his name. He says, you know, come to the hills with us and live like normal people. And I just thought that that was like a really good line, because it is really good to like differentiate what is actually like human behavior versus like what we exist in, which is like inhuman behavior. So yeah.
Yeah. I I thought I've always personally I felt, I don't want to watch any more slave movies. That's kind of how I felt. That's how I've been feeling for a long time. But this what I would categorize this as a slave movie, but I think this was definitely one of the more constructive ones. I I'm I guess I'm kind of comparing it to the slave movies I've seen, and the slave movies I've seen, they're not good, and I shouldn't be comparing them, but at least there weren't like the images of black suffering weren't unbearable. Like, I couldn't, I don't know, I don't know how to say it, but I feel that there was at least some respect, you know, not to completely desecrate these bodies and show us these horrible and awful images. Although that was what was going on. So,
And the
um,
white people are like only there to be evil. Like there's no nice white person. There's no helpful white person. Like they're
yeah,
just evil. Like which is actually so much more accurate, you know.
yeah, I like that too. I like how at the end that they were actually rebelling. It wasn't like this is slavery and you just kind of like you're just dealing with it like I don't know, like there's no really happy ending. I wouldn't say that was a happy ending, but I thought that was a constructive ending. That these people that they got in a group and rebelled, got organized. I also like the main character's development, like where she started at, taking pictures and in this in the on that sacred ground, and where she ended up towards the end. I enjoyed that. For me, I felt kind of connected and like very relatable because she was like, like don't kill yourself, don't go out there and die, well, like just trying to protect the guy, right? Because she didn't want him to get killed. So I felt that, like I don't want to send people off to their deaths, but towards the end, she got militant. She realized what it took, what was necessary, and she understood what Shango was saying. So I enjoyed the movie for those reasons. I don't enjoy watching slave movies though, so I'd like to be warned the next time.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was a good movie though. I'm mad I watched it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm also down for the hiatus on slave movies. But I feel like Nunu, I feel like she was very codified, and she gave a really codified response to one of the headmans who wanted to have sex with her. I really appreciate that.
I
And I
did
did
too.
like how the main character, she started off as like a very confused slave. Like she really like she kept saying like this doesn't make sense. And I'm like, no, but what doesn't make sense that you're a slave? Like it's right in front of you, you know. But once she like started, I don't know, to like I don't, escape from her religion and hang out with like Shunga and Nunu, the people who were like aware of what was going on and like attempting to counter it. That's when she was able to like become more aware and kill her slaver, her white master, her rapist, and be allowed back to her regular reality because yeah, until she was able to like work for freedom, actually fight for freedom, and be willing to die for freedom, she's gonna be stuck there forever. That's my interpretation.
Yeah, I liked Nunu's character a lot too. Like you said, she's very codified. She's like, if she's a real character, I would have her out like at Thanksgiving, like you did Cress Welsing. I thought she was, she, he, her, it's like so like she was living with a lot of these victims, right? And but she still like had love for them, and she knew how to like deal with them like in a constructive manner, which I like. Like she's just very honest with that headmaster, like it was kind of like, I'll always like you, but as long as you work for that white man, like I can never mess with you. That's a very honest, eh, honest way to put it. I don't, I feel like people nowadays can't be honest like that. I can't mess with you if, you're sleeping with white people. I can't trust you if you're messing with white women or white men. So yeah, I liked her character.
Yeah, and yeah, the woman who was wanting to have sex with Mulatto Joe.
Hmm.
I don't know what was up with that character, but that was very unconstructive. But that's a good example because it reminds me of slavery. Of what a lot of people don't understand about slavery is that like white people chose like when slaves like what slaves were gonna have sex. If slaves wanted to mate, they had to mate in secret. So they never really had like the so-called freedom to choose their own mates.
Hmm.
So I think that's something that we need to understand because people like to think that slavery was not a hellish nightmare, but it was, and I'm sure everyone here is very much aware of that. But for people who may be listening who thinking like they were like love like sprouting from within slavery, you can't have love in the slave system. It's not logical. So
Yeah, I think that was also something that the movie did well too, to show, like it was pretty much hell at every turn, right? Like no matter how subtle it was, like yeah, these people were still living, but you know their friends were being killed every day, babies being born without mothers, all the circumstances. Yeah, yeah. It really made me like I never ever want to go back to this. You know, I always felt like that, but that just reinforced it to me. Like that was just what I was thinking watching the movie. Is I can never ever imagine possibly going back to this. I'll never ever let white supremacy and racism put us back in chains like that. I thought it was there was a funny scene with the main character when Shango was, I don't know how you would call it, when he's just being held, in that, I don't know what you call that thing where his hands and head, and she was talking to him, and he was talking in like riddles, talking about the snake in the belly, and that girl was just like, why don't you make any sense?
That part was so funny. It was I liked it because it was super layered. Like it goes to show you, like I think about like Yorugu, how
Hmm.
our language becomes so limited and we can't
Hmm.
understand symbolic like nature of anything anymore. And she was like, "Why don't you make any sense?"
Yeah.
That part was so good.
Yeah, that I was like, wow, what is she talking about? But mental side.
Yeah, like
The Spirit of the Dead poem, or the beginning where it's like that Spirit of the Dead message. I think that's a good message for Black people in 2020. I think a lot of Black people's spirits are dead, which is why they do not attempt to counter or understand the system of racism and white supremacy. And I'm gonna clip that for the beginning of this video, just that whole little intro.
yeah, unfortunately, there's so many more Black people in the world who are like Joe.
Yeah, mulatto
I
Joes.
can see so many people like Joe
Not
and
even.
Shola at the beginning. Like, yeah.
One constructive and positive thing I saw was I believe it was New. She was telling like stories about like healers and people who were like saving people. Whereas in the system of white supremacy, white people and people who are trained in the system are taught to glorify, mass murderers like, Patton, like the Proud Boys love Hitler, and Belgium loves King Leopold. All these white people are mass murderers, but we're taught to learn about them and worship them and make statues about them. So, so that was something constructive.
Yeah, it becomes apparent. It becomes like apparent to me every day that white people, when they're being taught about slavery, that this is for them. This is one of their people's like greatest accomplishments, right? Like just being able to control the entire world. Whereas every time we're being taught about slavery, it's like this horrible, awful thing, because it is that happened to our ancestors. Like they were robbed, beat, killed, raped. But for white people, that's like a victory for them.
Yeah.
And it just becomes like more apparent to me every day, like thinking about it. The reality of things.
I thought it was interesting too, like that the people who were the most, I guess, aware and like constructive were the people who still at least like kept some form of their original religion. Like you can say like Creole is like definitely like it's a coming together obviously, but it still has a lot of African roots. I thought that was really interesting too, like the idea of like not letting go of your language, because that's also a part of like instilling that culture.
Yeah. I also enjoyed the movie. I liked how it was also in Fanti or Tria.
I know. It was interesting too, because I was like, when she would say certain things, I was like reading the subtitles and I was like, that's not how I would interpret that. So it's interesting, like converting tree. I think it was in tree to English, because I was like, that isn't. It just shows you how limiting like English is. Like, yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Another great quote from New was, you can never do nothing to my soul," which is like something I think would really encourage a lot of Black people to get serious about this problem, and just understanding that countering the system could mean facing death, but it's much. So I think slavery is worse than death. I can never do nothing to my soul, like that's a really powerful message. And like, I think that's a true warrior spirit, true counter-racist spirit right there.
Yeah, it's really true. And I think that also adds that like, that we also need to be like more connected spiritually to understand, because I think when you're too connected to like this earth,
this physical brainwashing,
you the fear sets in even deeper. But if you believe that you can like transcend and that you're connected to your ancestors and time is not linear, then like I think there's like less of a fear,
Yeah, and like and it's like the fear to even learn about the problem, it's just not to kill your slave master, but just to even learn that you're a captive, a prisoner of war.
Yeah.
Another a good takeaway that I got from this movie, seeing the mulatto Joe being like just heavily brainwashed by religion and seeking white lord and white religion to save him from his slave problems, which is never gonna happen. So I said slave and slaves and religion mix well. You know, it's like a good combination. You know, if you we gotta have if you need if you're gonna have slaves, you need religion. You must have religion, I would say.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because that lecture I was watching, he's talking about the Bible and how it's how the Bible's meant to enslave fools and enlighten the wise. And I have a friend who's a Jehovah Witness. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I used to talk to him about religion before I was a counter racist.
Mm-hmm.
And he was pretty convinced that Jehovah Witnesses have it all figured out. They know, like, they all have it down to a T. They know exactly what's going to happen in life. He's expecting everything in Revelations to happen and just stuff like that. And who's to say that? And what's funny too is that he's a light skin. His name is also Joe. Yeah, so
Oh
wow.
Joe's here.
yeah, that is, yeah. So
Yeah, Mulatto Joe is
I,
like a tragic reality character. I hated that character. But still, it's tragic. Menticide, Bobby, you're right.
yeah, it really shows too, like how like the role religion really like plays. I think maybe I'd been downplaying religion and the role it played in all of this. But man, like I think religion is the number one cause of the menticide. It
Yeah,
has to be.
like every day on Facebook, not anymore. But like whenever I post on like I have all these black people on my Facebook and they post like all these like Christian stuff like the scripture, like they post about how like I pray to God and He's gonna save me and save all the black people and like we're gonna, and then like I always post like logic and then they never like respond. They just I'm like, wow, these people are. So now I just started whenever someone posts like something religious, I just unfollow them so I don't have to see it. But I only use Facebook to try to get people to join the book club, like just post about the events and stuff. But geez, that it's a minefield out here, and people are just,
I
Bobby,
mean,
you're right, menticide. Yeah.
that sounds kind of like this may be like a problematic take, but I wonder if like so many people are like so many black people are like religious because they were the ones obviously they were the ones that were able to kind of like survive, and the ones who like were like not probably were killed before they even like were able to bear children. And I feel like there's probably like generations of black people who resisted, who just like never lived. And then the people who are still here are the ones who are like really, really mental-sided and were able to like exist with, yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
that's not far fetched. That makes a lot of sense if you ask me.
Yeah. I would just say that just understanding that we live in a fear based society. I see black people and non-white people using religion to do two things: cope with their fear and ascend to whiteness.
Hmm.
That's what I see it being used for. They think it's a constructive endeavor, but logic says otherwise. It's a dumb thing.
Yeah.
Carice, you have any thoughts to share?
Um, I like the fact that she had to physically go through it to understand. I think some people that's in life, people don't get it until it's them that's going through it, kind of thing. And she had to actually go through what her ancestors went through in order for her to understand why it was such a big deal for her to learn her past. Um, when she tried to break free and they told her, you know, you gotta um, basically calling her possessed because she wanted to be free, that you have to like praise our God and follow our God kind of thing. Um, it just lets me know that's how, you know, they abused religion in their own kind of way against these slaves.
Yeah, does anyone have any other things to share?
Yeah, I thought the ending was like really, what's the word, poignant. I feel like the movie is, well, my interpretation of it was like, you have to kill your masters and go back to Africa and go back to your roots. Like, I feel like it's a very like Pan-African movie because it's trying to say that like Black people in America are still connected to like African people on the continent, and to like for us to really become like free, like I think you have to leave America, if that makes sense. Not to say that, not to trying to tell all Black people to leave America, but I feel like that's what the movie was trying to say. Because that's like what it seemed like at the end.
Does anyone remember what happened to Mulatto Joe? Did he like what? Did he get killed or?
They
I feel like
said,
he burned to death in the church.
yeah, they
I
said
feel like
he
he
didn't
really
come out.
lost it.
Yeah, they said he
Yeah.
didn't come out of the church, and they ended up burning it down with all three of them in there, and they never found Neely's body.
Wow!
Wait,
Nunu, man!
Oh yeah, wow. So you knew
That's so trash.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that preacher was such an important character. Like you know, if if this movie teaches any like Black person who's not that kind of racist anything, it should be like, hey, at least religion is something maybe you can like research and come to your conclusions about not practicing that anymore. You know, because geez, slavery and religion is like two peas in a pod right there.
Yeah.
Peanut butter jelly.
Yeah. That is really destructive stuff, man. We like there's no hope of making any progress, you know, on the issue of white supremacy as long as Black people and non-white people are still worshiping Christianity or white Jesus.
I agree.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
And it's like a reoccurring theme in all of these books, all these, you know, movies. It's like religion, religion, religion. Like, just stay away from it.
Yeah,
That's
like
why I hate Cornel West.
yeah,
Who's
it's
Cornel
like
West?
Oh, Cornel West is like
some Harvard,
yeah,
highly
he's
educated.
a very educated guy who people look to him. He's like a Black public intellectual, and you think he's like cool, but he's like spouts so much Christianity stuff. And in the meantime of doing that, you know, he calls white people his brothers and sisters, and like tries to find
Okay,
the
so
good in
yeah, so
them.
like non-constructive,
Yeah,
racially
like
showcased,
yeah,
typical,
exactly.
just typical racist man, racist woman tool.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like even like he'll say really like interesting things about, you know, like he has a analysis of like our system, but then like his solution is just like we should all love each other in Christ or something, and it's like
Oh
that's what religion
God.
gets you. That's what religion gets you, you know.
Yeah, nowhere,
And like people are so
nowhere,
afraid of
always.
offending that they're like, you can't talk about anyone's religion now, as if like it's not a tool of oppression. It's really weird.
Yeah. God, golly.
Yeah, closing comments, maybe.
I'll go ahead and go first. Closing comments. I and if I had to show a slave movie, I would show that slave movie. There were some positive things and some negative things. Not mad I watched the movie. Happy I did. But yeah, religion. Just let's just. I think we should all just stop practicing religion until we find something. No, you just stop it. Yeah, that's my closing comment.
Agreed.
Wait, I'm not done. I want to continue. Okay, so yeah, religion, it seems like it's a recurring theme. Religion just is always at the center of, black strife, the cause of black strife, black death. And, I don't know how many images or how many, reasons black people need or images they need to just, figure out that this is not for them, to stop it, to stop practicing that kind of stuff, stop giving their energy to that kind of stuff. But yeah, so black people stop messing with Christianity and religions.
Yep. The most powerful religion on the planet is racism, white supremacy. It's a fact. My closing comments, many constructive like language, like quotes that I can find in this movie and like share with people. Many great sound bites that like showcase like the state of the black psyche and the white psyche. Like I think everyone should remember that moment where like he's calling this prayer, like the priest is calling Nunu a heathen. She's like, you heathen, get this heathen out of here. And then he says, this nigger out of here, get this nigger out of here. Because heathen and nigger is the same thing, synonymous with one another. And that's just, religion in a nutshell. It's a racist tool to otherize and destroy black people in order to prop up white supremacy. So if you serve it and you're black, you might as well be the head man in this movie, whipping yourself and the black people around you with your nonsense religion. And you might as well be Mulatto Joe, destructive monster. Closing comments? Anyone else?
I just see that basically it was a big valuable lesson that eventually when you realize the things that are happening to you, you start to kind of not fear all those things anymore. And eventually she stopped fearing dying and etc. That they eventually plotted and rebelled. So I feel like you have to literally basically get rid of your fear in order to, come up with a plan to demolish racism and white supremacy. It's not the end of it, basically.
Yep, kill black fear. All right, y'all. Thank everyone for the great discussion and watching the movie regarding our reality of the slave system we live in. And yeah, the plantation has just become the office, the work at home, still plantation nonetheless.
Yep.